Hi, welcome to episode 344 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarns and knitted patterns, and that is called The Corner of Knit and Tea as well. Hi, how are you? I hope you are having a wonderful day so far. It is Monday, September 6th, which is the Labor Day holiday here in the United States. So for me, it is a 3-day weekend, which has been lovely. I had hoped to take the day off for rest and relaxation. However, I sort of procrastinated throughout the weekend. So I have lots to do today to get ready for the week, and just little things, listing yarns on Etsy, doing the podcast, writing a blog review for the Well-Appointed Desk, you know, all the things that I do each week. So that is what I am working on today, but I definitely wanted to sit down and say hi and chat with you. So hi! I hope you are doing well. I hope you are healthy wherever you are. If this is your first time joining the podcast, this will be a fairly typical podcast, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back and hanging out with me. So it's funny because I actually had the opportunity to listen to myself in a podcast about a week ago. I don't generally listen to these podcasts before I publish them. I spot check them to make sure that they're okay, but I don't listen to myself. And so I listened to myself, and the bottom line was, I speak really quickly and don't let anyone else get a word in edgewise. So I am going to make an effort to slow down just a little bit, so that I don't sound as though I am speeding at breakneck pace to get through everything. I do try and keep my podcasts kind of short and sweet. It's sort of room for all the news that is fit to print, as they would say. I try not to take too much extra time, but take enough time to show you what I'm working on and what I'm doing. So today I am wearing the Jurisfiction cardigan by Glenna C. I knit this quite a few years ago. I'm trying to think when I knit it. It's definitely back in the early 2000s, or sorry, in the early like 2010, 2011, 2012. It is an all-over cabled pattern, and I knit it in Madeline Tosh Vintage in the Firewood colorway. And again, I knit this quite a few years ago, but I was feeling fall-ish today. It's not really fall weather. We did have some rain over the weekend, and we're down into the high 70s, low 80s, which of course is still quite warm, but I am starting to see the promise of the season potentially turning. And so I pulled this one out to kind of wear around the house today. I was looking for a cardigan. So that is what I'm wearing today. Let's talk about the tea. I also picked a slightly fall tea. This is Toasted Apple from Bird and Blend, and I just got a small sample from them. And this is roasted, it says buttery roasted green tea, popped rice, and toasty apples. And so that is what I am drinking today. I actually really love the toasted rice, the way it gives the tea a really good nutty flavor. And of course, toasted apple sounds delicious for the fall. And I'm also pleased because I used up the last of it, so that's another bag out of the stash. You know, as I track yarn and fiber, I may have to start tracking tea because there's so much of it. But I enjoy drinking tea, I enjoy getting new teas, but I also enjoy finishing off old ones. So, let's talk about the knits for this week. And I actually made quite a bit of progress on the things I wanted to. So first let's talk about a finished project, and that is I went ahead and finished a scarf that I was knitting for Miles. I don't think I ever showed this to you. What I did show you is a while back I knit and now I'm not going to be able to remember the name of the hat. It is a hat pattern by Tin Can Knits, and I cannot remember the name of the hat. It will be in the project notes. Because I'm completely blanking on it right now. The hat is created by holding 4 strands of fingering together to create a bulky weight hat. And the suggestion was that you can pick up and drop, you can use lots of leftovers and pick up and drop your colors as you wish to sort of, it's called the Playful Stripes hat. No. Yes. Maybe. Okay. The premise is that you hold 4 strands of fingering weight yarn together. You use size, I believe, 10 needles, and you knit a kind of bulky, squishy hat out of a bunch of different colors. You can marl them for effect. What I ended up using was I actually ended up using a gradient that I had dyed on a skein of Bear Knit Picks, their fingering weight. I think it's basically their Shawl. They're 100%, no, it's not 100% superwash merino. It has a little bit of nylon. And I had created this gradient that went from yellow to orange to red to pink to purple, and I kind of called it Tequila Sunrise. And I initially started knitting socks out of it, but my feet are so small that I was not going to be able to knit the whole gradient into socks and have them be socks that actually fit well. So I ripped it out, and I knit a Casa Pinka shawl a while ago, where I used one of the original sock blank was a double blank. It was double stranded so that you could knit 2 identical socks. And I used one of the skeins, so basically 220 yards or so of fingering weight in the gradient that I had dyed, and I used it as a contrast color in a 2-color Casa Pinka shawl. And so I had the other gradient cake left over, and it was about 220 yards of fingering weight yarn. So what I decided to do was I decided rather than just striping that I would use the gradient. So you can see down at the bottom it's very yellow, and then it gets up towards the top and it gets a little bit more orange. So this is the hat that I knit, and then I decided to basically continue with the balls of yarn that I was using and work on a scarf. So what I did this week is I finished the scarf. I think I only had maybe about this much of the scarf done when I picked it up this week, but of course it is bulky. It is on size 10 needles, and he is only 5, so I only knit the scarf to be a little over 4 feet because I didn't think it needed to be much longer than that, or else it would just drag and it would be hard to style. So you can see now that I have the orange, and it goes into kind of the red, and then pink and purple, and then when I ran out of that, I put in some light blue that I had, and when I ran out of that, I added some green, and then at the end, I added some yellow. So basically, it is a rainbow scarf to go with his hat. So here is the scarf and the hat. They are a nice set. I will need to do mittens. I was hoping I would have enough of the other colors that I used both in the hat and the scarf to do the mittens, but I actually am starting to run out of those. So I haven't decided precisely what I will do yet in mittens. I still have plenty of this yellow color, and I also have another skein of orange yarn. So my thought is that I may actually only hold like 2 colors together, 2 strands together, and just knit a pair of worsted weight mittens that will sort of match this marling. So I'm pleased to have that done because that is part of a winter set done. It's soft and squishy and super thick. And so that was kind of a fun one, and it got a bunch of yardage out of the stash this week because, of course, knitting with 4 strands of yarn in a bulky. The only complaint that I have about this at all is that when you're knitting with 4 strands, it's super, super, super easy to miss one of the strands. So I really should have had sharper needles, and I'm still finding little areas where I may have missed one of the strands, but I'm not too concerned because they won't come undone, but, you know, yeah. So that would be my only complaint about working with so many strands at once, but otherwise I really like it, and it's just, the rainbow makes me happy, and I know that Miles loves rainbows and red, and so I think he will be very, very pleased with this. So that is the only finished object for the week. The second whip that I picked up this week that I talked about having finished, I am not quite finished, but I'm getting close. This is the, oh, and I looked it up. This is the Dovetail Sweater. Thank you very much. It is by Quinn Reverendo, and it was a pattern that was designed for Monostel Uruguay to be used with their bocados. And bocados is Spanish for little bites, and they are mini skeins of their worsted weight Allegria Grande. And they are designed specifically for color work. The skeins themselves, I think, are 25 grams and about, well, let's see if I have any of the, I do. Perfect. Perfect. These are bocados. They are approximately 50 yards, 25 grams, 75% merino superwash, and 25% polyamide. That is what they look like. And the other fun thing about Manos del Uruguay is that you get to see who made and dyed your skein and where it was dyed. So I really, really love their yarns, not only because they are beautiful, but because they support women artists in Uruguay. So I selected 5 colors. The pattern is meant to be knit in 5 colors of bocados, and then also the main color is knit in Allegria Grande in the full skeins. But for this one, I actually had a different yarn that I wanted to use, and this is the Natural Speckle in Pepper. It was a small batch from Abundant Earth Fibers, which is a small sustainable fiber mill up in Whidbey Island in Washington. And they were a client for a little while, and I purchased a sweater quantity because I wanted to play with it, and it is super soft and squishy. It is made of 90% US merino and 10% Washington tarhi, so it is just a super, super squishy. Even though I would have thought it might be a little rustic, it's so soft. Anyway, so I went ahead and worked on a sweater. The Dovetail Sweater has this great color work yoke pattern. I was a little bit off on gauge, so I sort of hacked the pattern. I knit the smallest size, but then I didn't even fully knit the smallest size because I didn't fully complete the final round of increases. However, the sweater fits me, and I'm really, really happy with it. My goal for this past week was to get the sleeves done, so I have a new sweater for fall. They were the only things that were left. I had put it aside a few months ago when a bunch of samples came in after I had finished the body but didn't get through the sleeves. I did get through the first sleeve and finish it off with the little bit of color work detail at the cuff. Really, really pleased with this. Need to weave in a couple ends, but otherwise good to go there. I did not quite make it through the second sleeve. I am several inches in, so my guess is it will take me another night or two of work to finish it. The other thing is that I'm not 100% sure I'm going to have enough of the pink to do the cuff on the other one, so I have to decide if I want to do a completely different colored cuff or if I'll use the pink until I run out, and then I thought I might add in some of the purple. I do obviously have all of the other colors. The green would be the next logical choice because as I used these and increased obviously the ones at the top, which had smaller numbers of stitches in the round, I have more left over. So I can't decide what I want to do, whether I want them to be completely mismatched or whether I'll try and make it as close to matching as possible. And I think the color that will go best with the pink is probably up against the purple. So that might be what I do on the other one. We'll just have to see when I get there. I do expect that this one will be done next week. I just didn't quite get through it this week. So that is what's on my plans for this week, is to finish this one. And again, that is the Dovetail Sweater by Quinn Reverendo. So the other work in progress that I'm still working on, I'm not quite done, but I expect to be later this week, wonderful, is I am working on a sample for Zen Yarn Garden. I am doing the Positive Vibration Shawl, which is by Marinja Knits, and it is a I am using 3 colors in the shawl, and it is a short row extravaganza. This pattern is not for the faint of heart because every single line is written out and it's pages and pages, and Wes keeps looking over, and this week he was like, "Is that a pattern?" And I said yes, and he was like, "That is a crazy pattern." So, it is not for the faint of heart, but it is not that difficult. If you are willing to sit and concentrate on it, unfortunately it cannot be knit group knitting or watch a bunch of TV or movies or anything you really want to pay attention to knitting, because you do need to pay attention to the knitting. But it is not as difficult as it seems. So I started this, I'm using 3 colors of yarn by Zen Yarn Garden in their Superfine base, Superfine fingering base, and I am using the new navy colorway. Sorry, my ends are kind of sticking out. I've woven most of them in, but the new navy colorway, and then followed by the scallions colorway, which is this bright green, and then followed by the tangerine, which is this orange. And as you can see, there's a brief solid section, a bunch of striping, and then we start to get into the short row shaping as we make bigger and bigger shapes with the short row striping. This week I finished the body. I think I was close to finished with, well, I think I was like maybe around here, like around this section last week. I finished what is considered the body with this last section of blue here, and then I went into what is considered the edging. I will say, I have almost run out of the blue at this point, and I am not entirely surprised. First of all, I believe some of the yarns that she used when she designed this shawl, she had more than 400 yards. She did say that she ran really, really close. She listed the yardage that she used in one of the yarns as 380 or 390 yards out of 400, so even the slightest difference in gauge will definitely make a difference on if you have enough. And basically she said you can just keep working and stop wherever you would like to. So what I have done is I finished the body section with the blue, and I have maybe 5 grams of the dark blue left. And what I have decided to do is save the dark blue so that I can put it at the very end of the shawl at the bind off, so that I can kind of tie in the last section. To be fair, the last section is predominantly orange and green in the shawl anyway. There were, I think, maybe out of 21 sections for the final part of the shawl, only 2 or 3 of them were supposed to be blue. So it was going to be predominantly orange and green, and I still have quite a bit of the orange and green left. So I am determined to work on the edging basically until I run out of yarns. And this pattern is really built so that you could essentially stop at any point in time and just call that the edging. So I have gone through what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, no, that was the end of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections of the edging. As I said, I can go up to 21. We'll just have to see. So that is how the edging is playing out over the shawl. And again, this is an asymmetrical triangle that builds till the end of the body, and then the edging is basically you keep a consistent number of stitches. So that is what I'm working on there, and I will have, I basically have 14 more sections. My goal is to do several sections a night so that I will be done by the end of the week. And the final bind off, the final last little stripy section and bind off, I will just switch to the blue to tie it together, and then I will be done with this one. I am very pleased with the way this has come out. I always wanted to knit one of her patterns, so this has been super fun. I knew that they were going to be a challenge to knit. I didn't realize quite how it would be executed because it is a very long pattern, but I really am enjoying it, and the shapes are really fun. I can't wait to block it out and just see how the whole pattern kind of comes together. So that I will be finishing this week, and I'm super excited about that. So I think getting the sweater done and the shawl done are easily obtainable during this week. So let's talk about what else I might work on. I have not wound my yarn yet for my shawl for myself, and I plan to do that this evening and maybe cast that on, or maybe hold off one more week. I keep finding more things that I should be casting on and doing. On deck, I plan to start some socks for the children this week. I'm not sure which child I will pick first and what yarn I will pick. I have lots of half balls of sock yarn, and I also ordered, my knitting group just did an order from Knit Picks, and I ordered a couple skeins of Felici so that I can knit them some nice soft stripy socks. I really do love Knit Picks Felici because it is super soft. The colors do sometimes sort of, I don't want to say they bleed on each other because they don't. Sometimes in the dyeing, the colors are not super crisp on the edges of the colors, and sometimes there are little splotches in other sections, but the base yarn itself is super soft, and the kids are growing so quickly they don't end up wearing through their socks or having their socks pill that much because their feet are growing so fast they can only wear them for a few months, which is fine. And I actually really love my Felici socks just because they are so soft. I can put them in the washer and dryer and put them back on my feet, and they're fabulous. So I did order a couple skeins of Felici so that I can knit the kids some stripy socks. So my plan is to cast on for a pair of stripy socks this week. and maybe my shawl. And then I have a new sample. I didn't bring the yarn to show you today, but the next sample that I'm going to be doing is kind of an oldie but a goodie. I've never knit it, and I kind of wanted to, so I'm excited to start that. I am going to be knitting the Excuse Me sweater, ASKEWS, Excuse Me, by Stephen West, and I am going to be using some Zen Yarn Garden yarns for that. And I plan to swatch this week so that as soon as I finish this shawl, I am ready to go ahead and cast on for that. So I should have 3 new cast-ons by the time I catch up with you next week. I hope. So I'll have some finished things to show you and some new projects, maybe just the beginnings of those. The final thing that I picked up this week and worked on just a little bit at knit night the other night, and I do want to finish this one because this will kind of finish out a lot of the whips that I have on the needles when, of course, I'm in the middle of a row. This is the Catch Some Waves. I think it's called the Catch Some Waves blanket. I got the pattern from a Karen Magic Cake that I've been using. It's basically just a simple chevron pattern. Knitting this is going to be a blanket to be donated to charity. I am knitting it in 3 colors of, let me think about this, for Stylecraft DK. It is a super affordable acrylic yarn. I bought mine from Lovecrafts. I have also bought it in the past from the Wool Warehouse in the UK. It retails for just a few dollars a ball. Which I think makes it really economical. And the reason I am knitting in acrylics is because this is going to be donated to Project Linus, which provides blankets to children who are in the hospital. And they specify that they prefer that you knit with acrylics, or because they put them in really high pressure or really high temperature washes to sterilize everything. And so there is the feeling that if you wash a superwash blanket too much, it may ultimately end up felting and not actually making it through the wash. So the acrylics are really, really good for that. And, you know, they take a licking and keep on ticking, sort of in a Timex fashion. So I have kind of a coral or mango here. I have a bit of a peach here, and then I have another really pale color. And I think it is just about time to start fading into the really pale color. I have just, oh, the ball fell off, so I won't be able to show you, but I have just a bit of this one left, and I think it's probably time to start fading into the lightest color. So I'm going to pick this back up on Zoom calls and hope that I can finish this out within the month of September. That will give me 3 blankets to donate. Again, we are donating blankets. My husband is learning to knit his first. He's using a basically a plastic knitting loom, and he is learning to knit and creating a couple blankets for Project Linus for his community service as part of his sabbatical later this year. And so I decided to knit a few blankets to donate along with him. He's not getting credit for my blankets, but I felt like it would be a nice contribution for me to make as well. Also because since he is just starting to learn knitting, and the service requirement is 40 hours. If you think about how many blankets 40 hours yields, it really probably for someone just learning only yields 1 to 2 blankets. And so I just decided that I would kind of pump up his donation with a few blankets that I had knit. And I have 2 that I've already finished, one that looks like this in pinks, and then I also had the original Karen Magic Cakes, or big cakes. I did one of those over the Christmas holiday. So I have lots of blankets getting ready to be sent. We'll deliver those in October as he takes his sabbatical. So that's all the knitting news. Let me take a sip of tea and we'll quick go over the spinning. So last week I showed you 2 bobbins that I had spun of fiber from Hello Yarn. It was in rich fall colorways, and the name of the fiber was Skep, and it was on Polworth. I'm not sure that I said that correctly last week because I got a little confused between the different things that I was spinning. So Skep, here is Skep on Polworth, and it is absolutely a fall bonanza. It's got golds and oranges and browns, and then it's got sections where I almost thought there was a little bit of purple, or it comes off as a little bit of burgundy, and it is just a really perfect fall skein. It looks like fall foliage and leaves and everything we love about fall. Cornucopias and pumpkins and squash, and yes. I got about 320 yards of I would say, sport to DK weight, so it's really lovely. It is going to be going up into the shop this evening. It will probably be there even before you see the podcast. So this one is available. I think it would make lovely socks or fall accessories. It is not superwash, so if you do knit socks out of it, just know that, and that they may felt a little bit, but I still think they would make really, really nice socks. And this is a nice Polworth. It's not 100% like I have to have it against my neck, but it is very soft. And so I think it would just make really, really nice fall, welcome to fall accessories. So this week I picked a new braid to spin. It was also Hello Yarn. I think it is a BFL silk. I want to say 8515, but I'm not 100% sure. I will clarify that when the skein is done, but it's not done yet, so I'm not too worried about that. This is called Show Me Your Garden, and it is actually kind of the opposite of fall. It is a very springy colorway. It's got yellows and purples and blues, and it's just really, really lovely. And I am spinning this as a fractal spin. This is the bobbin with the tiny strips, so lots of quick color repeats. And then I am spinning the other half of the fiber. I tore it into two pieces and I'm spinning it straight through. So this will be a little bit stripy. I still have one more of those bumps to spin, so that's probably about an ounce left to spin. And then I will ply, and this will also be heading towards the shop. And that should be maybe up later this week. I'll probably show it to you next weekend and then put it up shortly after that. So that is what I'm working on there, which means it's also time to pick out a new spin, because I will start at least something this week. And I actually went back and bought more fiber from Kumasi. I think I said that last week when I showed one of her braids. I am really, really enjoying spinning fiber. I shouldn't say she, because I actually don't know. They are a fiber dyer out in the San Francisco area, and I know that they are, so I can't remember if I found out about them on BIPOC fiber artists or on because they were LGBTQIA. I cannot remember. But I like their dyeing style. I love their fiber. It is really beautifully prepared. They put together lots of beautiful colors. And I ordered 2 braids the first time to see what I thought, and then I ordered 2 more. So they are definitely going to be one of the Etsy shops I keep checking out in the future. They do not name most of their braids. So, but I do think this is kind of another fall toned braid. You've got the mulberry, you've got the blue, you've got the browns, and a little bit of yellow and some white in there. This is a pure BFL braid, so it's got a little bit of luster and shine, and it's got some nice crimp to it, and it just feels nice and smooth. Well, not smooth, but feels like a long wool, much more lustrous, like it's going to draft beautifully. And I can't wait to dig into this one this week. It also kind of reminds me of like a cobbler or a pie, a very fall themed something. And so I'm going to dig into this braid this week as soon as I finish the Show Me Your Garden. This one will also be destined for the shop, so if you are thinking about procuring some handspun, feel free to give it a glance. So I think that is all I have for you today. I'm at almost 30 minutes, which was a nice newsy podcast with lots to show. So I think I'll take my leave of you now, let you get back to your crafting. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Please stay healthy. Please find something wonderful to craft. Enjoy the changing of the seasons wherever you are in the world. And until I see you next time, I'll say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping. And I'll see you next time. Bye.